geometric shapes,
Alright, my era is the earliest writing system. Now, the first writing system was developed in Mesopotamia, and it was called cuneiform, which is this. And if you look closely, it has a distinct triangular shape because that was the shape of the stylus that they used to create it. Another writing system that was early used was Egyptian hieroglyphs, which were often incorporated alongside art. At the beginning, the earliest writing system, they represented ideas, not sound. So this ankh symbol here, this means life, a snake might mean death, and so on. But a major development occurred when writing systems began to be used as alphabets, so they represented sound. Now, the earliest alphabet is called the Proto-Cyanic script. It was first attested to about 1800 BCE. This single alphabet is the ancestor of the Latin, Cyrillic, Greek, and Arabic alphabets, so it's very important. You can see in this chart over here how different hieroglyphs became the Proto-Cyanic script, became the Latin alphabet eventually.
He was an architect. His idea was to make a school to bring all the different under.
Okay, so my era was Chinese calligraphy, and it was viewed as a supreme visual art form, and it was viewed higher than sculpture and painting. The brushes that they used were either hard brushes or soft brushes to get the movement of the strokes and stuff. And the art really revolved around line and shape to get how it looks. And during this time, it was early Chinese years.
My era was the Industrial Revolution from 1794 to 1890. And the Industrial Revolution was started in Great Britain and basically just affected how people made products. It led to the creation of factories with large amounts of workers and mechanization. And a lot of these factories now had a lot more products to sell, and they needed to spread awareness about their products. So they made posters as advertisements, and they were very heavy on the words, but they would try to use slanted and different sized fonts to make it more interesting.
My era was abstraction. It was the beginning of the 20th century. It's the process of distilling information down to basic elements. It uses shape, form, color, and line to create an art piece that people won't recognize right away. Under its influence, painters and artists, designers were free to share representations of the representation of art. So this one this one looks like. So my era was futurism, and this started in the very beginning of the 1900s, so early 1900s. And futurism was an artistic and social movement that focused a lot on technology and advancements in society. So there were a lot of skyscrapers, planes, buildings, cities, just things that could be considered modern. And futurism was created by the Italian poet Filippo, and I do not know how to say the rest of those names, but futurism has impacted graphic design by the way it's captured what life was like at the beginning of a new era. Like I mentioned, this was in the early 20th century. It's also combined new elements of technology, so sometimes it's also what people think it'll be like in the future, not just what has already been created. Futurism can inspire others to be creative and embrace modern advancements such as technology, buildings, or even societal advancements. And then these are some examples of the art. As you can see, there's lots of geometric shapes, things that represent the future. The colors are also very bright and eccentric, so it's not dull. It's very bright and new and young feeling. So that pretty much summarizes everything about futurism. Supervision started in the early 1990 till the 1930. So basically that represents the dream, the people of shape, real life, basically in different kind of shapes, and they use many shape, form, colors, and that represent the dream of them and all of that. make them, and that shapes and they look like.
Or posters from the Middle Era, from 1914 to about like 1918 somewhere. During both World Wars, posters were meant to instill people with positive and patriotic outlook on the conflict. Posters were encouraging not just men to join the army, but every citizen of the United States to contribute to the war effort. So basically, sum it all up, posters make people sign into the army, okay, and then they join the army and help their cause. Yeah, that's basically it.
Welcome to modernism. Modernism is explicitly the rejected idea of ideology of realism and made use of works in the past by the employment of reprise, incorporation, rewriting, recapitulation, or whatever, revision, and parody. Modernism also rejected the certainty of Enlightenment thinking, and many modernists also reject religious belief.
Now we're recording. Okay.
My era is the Dada era, 1916 to the mid-1920s. So, it was mostly made out of spite of the First World War and was also supposed to have their own twist on modern art, such as the Mona Lisa with a mustache. Since it was created during World War I, it also has like elements of horror and like depressing vibes, like this. Like this is supposed to show like an unsettling vibe of like tortures that soldiers went through during World War I. It also tried to mock current art, such as Mona Lisa again and this little like Pin Man thing. But unfortunately, after World War I, it slowly started to die down. But it had a positive effect of being experimental and you know, using your mind. And also, talking about being experimental, people would make, you know, crazy stuff like urinals and stuff. All right, let's do. I say we do this one now.
Put this in the where it goes. This is the Purist design movement. It lasted from 1919 to 1933. It started from a guy named Walter Gropius. He was an architect. His idea was to make a school to bring all the different art types under one roof. And it was made known in Dena, and it lasted 15 years, but the movement made various different well-known artists like Paul Keel and Herbert Baylor. It had elements of shape and line, and the principles that we have today is pattern and repetition.
So the retro era went from 1920s to the 1970s. It was most accurately described as the retro style. The retro style is a style that imitates or consciously deviates lifestyles, trends, or art forms from the historical past, including in music, clothes, fashions, or attitudes. And they also be known as inspired.
Well, my thing is illusions, and it was really popular in the 1960s, but it was created in 450 BC by Epicharmus and Protagoras in ancient Greece. And then it mainly became popular in World War I and World War II because of camouflages that were used on naval ships. And then especially became popular in the 1960s because of the perception that it could give multiple ways of life instead of just a singular way.
Let's go, bro. So, new wave is like a mashup of vibrant colors, geometric shapes, and patterns, and is influenced by postmodernism, contrast, and harmonies.
3D.
This is postmodernism. It was from the 70s to the 90s. It was
Did you do retro?
a complex and contradictive depiction of existence as a whole, using abstract figures and oftentimes contorted images to represent life's complexities. It rejects traditional art and modernism actually directly
is related to modernism. And so as we can see here, usually there is no point to it, and that's kind of the point, because it's anti-modernism. Modernism is having a point. So it's a lot of random shapes and images that usually can carry a message. Postmodernism also rejects the elitism surrounding the art world, and also the male domination of modernism, as it is a very famous art form, or postmodernism as well. They use a plethora of new materials such as trash, but also they use videotapes and just images in general to create art.
So, digital revolution era. So it was really 1990s plus. Pretty much started whenever computers and stuff became more popular, and pretty much all it is it's artists designing just art and stuff. We're just on computers. There's nothing that really can categorize it. I mean, they use a bunch of different tools like painting software, 3D modeling, virtual reality, and stuff. It kind of just combines everything together and tries to mash it up. So it's just kind of a big combination of a bunch of different styles and all. Well, overall, the earlier parts of this era were more experimentation based. So it was just people testing the limits of what they could accomplish.
Okay, go. Did you go?
Yes, go.
Okay, my...
Alright.